This is a PokePress Special Report. Hi, I'm Stephen Reich here at the Madison, Wisconsin PokePress PIRN Studios. I'm on the phone with Rajat, who participated in the recent New Jersey Regional of the 2010 Pokemon Video Game Championships. So, Rajat, first of all, talk about, now you're from Madison, where I live, but you happen to be visiting family out in the New York area. So what order did that go in? Did you hear about this event and then decide to have a little reunion, or how did that all work?
Well, I heard about the event, and around the same time I was actually planning a trip home. So since I saw the event was pretty close to when I was planning, I changed my dates a bit, and decided to visit home at the same time as the event. So it just worked out for me that the timing worked there.
And now, where was this event being held? It was in North New Jersey near New York City, but it was in the Meadowlands.
It was the Meadowlands Expo Center. It's about a 15 to 20-minute bus ride from the New York Port Authority bus terminal, and they have a pretty convenient bus that takes you straight to the front door.
So, what was it like when you got there? Was there a lot of people?
Well, I got there about an hour and 15 minutes ahead of schedule, ahead of the start time, and already there was a pretty long line. From the point where I got on the line, it was about 3 hours before I actually got into the building and registered.
Really? Wow. Was that all processing people, or were you waiting for something to start? How did that work?
Well, part of it was since I was there an hour early, so about an hour at the time was waiting for that. But after that, it was still processing through so many people there, and even behind me, it extended for a pretty long time. I actually had a friend who joined me later, and when he went on the end of the line, he got in about an hour after I did.
Hmm. But how long did registering each person you estimate take then?
I would say registering each individual person probably took about 10 minutes. They didn't really need too much information other than your name and your age group and your roster sheet. So it was pretty much pretty quick for each person.
And then from what I understand, when you got in, there wasn't too much waiting around once you had been registered. Did they try and get you guys playing pretty quickly?
Yep. So once we registered, we entered another short line for starting matches, and it was and the method they have was whoever was available, the next two people would play a game on the next open space. They did move some people around if you happen to know someone, but otherwise it was pretty much about a 5-minute wait for a table to open and start the next match.
So these tables, do they have they have these special DS units on it? Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, they did. They had two DSs connected to a middle box, and you would enter the game card in that middle box and play on the DSs themselves. And these records each session, and also kind of make sure that those two DSs are one that connect. Because they also had for the recording, they also had those boxes shown up on television screens, so the spectators can see the matches going on.
Well, I do know, unfortunately, as you told me, that you didn't get past the first round. How did that go for you? What was your team?
The team I was using for the first round was Salamence, Lugia, Groudon, and Metagross. So
Lugia and Groudon, those were your two allowed Ubers.
Yeah, they were my two allowed Ubers. I trained them specifically for this tournament. I started out actually with Metagross and Lugia as my starter. And I guess the key thing that I lost to was it was an explosion team. They sent out a Dusknoir and a Licky. As you know, Licky can use explosion, and it's a normal type. And Dusknoir is a ghost type, so it's immune to the effects of explosion. I kind of recognized this when I saw it. It's kind of a common double battle strategy. So I tried to take down Licky, and I did not quite succeed before it exploded on the second round, taking out both of my Pokemon. And then when I sent out my remaining two, they were taken down by my opponent's Kyogre, which actually ended up critical hitting first my Groudon with its water spout, and then my last Rayquaza, which also had a critical hit.
So I guess I'm sorry to hear it didn't work out too well for you. Now you had another friend who played in the tournament. How did he do?
So he did a bit better than I did. He got past the first two rounds, but then he lost at the third preliminary round. I actually do not remember his exact team. I did not get to see his matches. But he was pretty satisfied that he got that far. I think both of our goals were really just to see how well we could do.
All right. So how many people did they have running it? Was there a lot of people in registration? How are people allocated?
It for how well it ran, it did not seem there was a lot of people running it. I would probably estimate maybe 15 to 20 people running it. There was about 5 or 6 people registering at a time, 1 or 2 MCs, I think. And I would say 8 or so, maybe a little bit more people judging at tables, just making sure that everyone is running, everything's going smoothly, and making sure that winnings are recorded. We also had a special guest there. We had the creator of Maryland there.
Devin Peltier-Robeson. You can actually see him in one of the other videos on my channel. All right, and how did you feel about the quality of the actual event? Was it a good experience despite your early exit?
I think it was a pretty good experience. One thing I like about these Pokemon events is that you do get to meet a lot of different people, a lot of fellow Pokemon players, and being my age as an adult, you get to see fellow adults playing the game who enjoy it just as much as I do. So even win or lose, you still get those experiences.
Now you also, as I mentioned earlier, you're also a member in the trading card game league I run here in Madison. How would you compare the two types of events? What's the same? What's different? Compare and contrast.
I think I guess the similarity is that the people you find doing well in these tournaments and playing these tournaments are definitely very into the game. They practice quite a bit with their friends online, researching strategies, testing different strategies, finding what works, what doesn't work, making little tweaks here and there. I think the biggest difference I feel is more along the lines of I guess the structure of the two tournaments. From playing in trading card tournaments, I've seen that there are definitely many more tournaments for players to play in and practice in, and definitely a lot of chances where one person can play in many tournaments, earn points for the eventual invite. I believe the difference in terms of that from the video game is that we have these annual video game events with a few regions, so there's not as many opportunities to really see how everyone is doing. There's a bit of luck of the draw of when do you actually get in.
Now this year's they have to play using either Heart Gold or Soul Silver. I assume a lot of people brought their Pokewalkers. What was that like?
Definitely a lot of Pokewalkers. While waiting in line, a lot of people would go through the line, have one guy hold for this spot, and just go down the line linking Pokewalkers. Definitely see all over the place when you have some of the younger people in the senior division, about 14 or so, maybe a little less. Everyone getting excited, like, oh, you have a Pokewalker, let's link it together. I ended up getting a lot of choice bands and choice specs just linking with a few people, and I'm far less than a lot of other people who went down the lines. There was some guy there with 4 Pokewalkers.
Really? Wow. That's pretty incredible. So if you get another opportunity, I assume you're going to try and do this again sometime, maybe next year.
Yep, if the opportunity comes and I'm available during that time and it works, I'll definitely enjoy doing this again and use my experience from this bout to improve my team for next year.
Now, of course, there is one more chance for people who haven't been able to make it to one of the regionals to get into the tournament structure for the season, and that's at the national championships the day before. There'll be a last chance qualifier. Is there any advice you could give people who might want to play in that in Indianapolis?
I would say if you want to get an idea of what type of teams you might be facing, the Pokemon video game website is a pretty good resource to see what type of teams the previous winners have used. It's all available there. I looked through that a couple of days before this tournament. Probably like one thing to know that it is very different from single battles, which I think most people are used to. Single battles as opposed to double battles, and just remember there's a much different dynamic when you have two Pokemon in play.
All right, well, thank you very much, Rajat. This has been Stephen Reich reporting from the PokePress PIRN studios in Madison, Wisconsin, on the phone with Rajat, who recently participated in one of the 2010 Pokemon video game regionals. This has been a PokePress special report.